What's up everyone, welcome back to more Reddit stories about Karens, crazy people, and everything in between. As usual, it's time to check out some more Reddit posts, so feel free to share your thoughts about today's stories down in the comments and we're getting right into it. My folks spilled mercury on the floor and vacuumed it up. Apparently stepfather decided that it would be a good idea to play with a small bottle of mercury and somehow spilled a few drops on the floor, about the same amount you would find in a thermometer as I found out. The real problem is that they used a vacuum cleaner to clean it up. As far as I know, coming into contact with it in liquid form is not a big deal, but involving a vacuum cleaner changes everything. I told them to leave the room, open all the windows, and get rid of the vacuum cleaner bag immediately, but they're entirely unconcerned. Aside from notifying authorities, what else can be done? How big is the risk and how serious was the exposure? Thanks in advance. Update. Side note, I am not in the USA. So I drove over to their house and called the emergency line in my country. First, the local security forces and health teams came. When I explained the incident, they did not take it seriously. They gave me mocking looks and sarcastic smiles. Dude, such a small amount, why make this fuss, etc. Then a team from an institution called Disaster and Emergency Directorate has come. This team cleaned up the remaining mercury with measuring devices and special equipment. They said I did the right thing by calling and congratulated me. They confirmed the ignorance of my family and the teams that came before them. Looks like everything that could be done has been done. They told them to take a health test after some time. Fingers crossed that they will comply. Now another team from the Ministry of Environment is on its way to take the vacuum cleaner and other contaminated stuff. After everything he caused, step-douche, Chloe said it best, has the nerve to complain about the bill they will hand them because of me and cost of the vacuum cleaner. Told them to search mercury poisoning and check out some visuals to maybe get back on the right track. Yeah, OP definitely did the right thing, especially since OP's parents just weren't going to take it seriously. And I'm no expert on mercury and all that, but I would imagine vacuuming it up would probably just spread it around the house even more. And yeah, I don't know much about mercury or mercury poisoning other than it's bad. And after OP suggested looking up pictures, I can say it does not look good. I would say the bill of having these environmental teams come is a small price to pay. Better than having a terribly toxic substance around the house that'll seriously screw up your life. Am I the asshole for not taking my father's minor children into consideration when I sued him for the inheritance he stole from me? My mom died when I, 22 female, was 10. And in her will, she left me an inheritance of more than $100K. My dad was left in charge of it, but after he remarried, him and his wife wanted to start a business together and they used the money mom left me to open it. Dad and I argued about it at the time, but I was 15, and he kept insisting it was good for the whole family, and how it was better used to help everyone than being thrown away on random stuff when I turned 18. Our relationship was over before I moved out of his house at 18. I had made his and his wife's life miserable for stealing from me, and once I was out of there, I looked into how I could get that money back. I pressed charges against him for stealing from me and I sued him for the money. I had the support of my entire extended family on my maternal side and some on my paternal side. But I was told by others on the paternal side to consider my dad's other kids, and the devastation that kind of financial upheaval could bring. I ignored those comments. I knew waiting would prevent me from ever getting the money, and I honestly did not care about his family's financial security after being stolen from. It was a long-ass process, and I needed to return to court a few times, because he was just like, I can't pay, I don't have the money anymore. In the end, they were forced to give up the business, and it was sold to pay me the money back, and he had to pay additional out of his paycheck, which made him empty their savings, so his wages weren't garnished anymore. By the time I got it back, I was 100% done and past the point where we could ever reconcile. He made me fight so hard for what was legally mine, and he stole money mom left to support his new family. My relationship with some of my dad's side is not so strong anymore, and they think it was wrong that I focused only on what he did and not on the effects for the kids. I mostly don't talk to those family members now, but they asked me how I feel zero guilt for it when the kids are innocent and are still my siblings technically. That they would have thought I'd want better for them. I don't feel bad, I never have, but am I the asshole for not taking the kids into consideration? Is that something I should have done? I feel like that's just really unfair to me and locks me into never being paid back. I don't think I owe those kids that. You know, that's kind of the problem, is they're using their kids as a justification for doing bad things, as if it cancels it out and anything can be excused because they have kids, so you should have sympathy. Please just let them be a complete thief and don't try to take back what is yours, because think of the children. If they instead robbed OP's house, would people still be saying, oh, don't take him to court over it, don't try to get your money back. He has kids, why won't you think of the children? When what it really comes down to is whether there's kids involved or not. The dude straight up robbed you of $100K. OP is just taking back what is hers, and it's just putting her dad back in the same position where he was before he stole the money. So OP is not taking from the kids or the father. It wasn't even theirs to begin with. I mean, feel free to disagree with me, but that's just how I feel. School has placed entrance directly outside our house. We moved into a rental property in September of last year. Directly opposite our property is a primary school, which we had no problem with, and we're aware that throughout the day there would be noise and even foot traffic on the road for picking up children, etc. Our road is a small road, only wide enough for a single car to pass, and is a dead end with no turning at the end. The school runs the length of the road on one side, and on the other there are approximately 7 houses, split into 3, a large parking area for the school, and then another 4 terraced houses at the end of the road. The school has decided to start using the road for the parents to wait in the mornings for the school opening, and also in the evenings the parents wait for the children to be let out. The issue is, the road is extremely narrow and all of the parents crowd outside our house on the road, literally leaning on our gate and cars, which are parked outside our house. On multiple occasions, parents have been extremely rude to us when we have been leaving our property during this time. I have even been called a C-word on one occasion when I had to leave our house at school leaving time to take our newborn to an appointment. We have been in touch with our local PCSO who has spoken to the school. However, this seems to have had little to no effect, and the head teacher is unwilling to engage in conversation with us regarding this. On several occasions, we have had near misses on the street, with children running out in front of our cars. Our neighbors have also complained to the Highways Agency, which has had no effect, and the school, who have also been unresponsive to them on the matter. The school has a large playground which extends the length of our street and the full side of the building. Residents on our street have made us aware that prior to COVID, the children would wait on the playground. However, once social distancing and bubbles came into play, the children would wait outside as they do now. At first, this would only be a few due to the bubble system. However, now there are close to 100 people stood outside our house in a tiny confined space every day to collect their children. The quote entrance that the school is using is not designated as an entrance on any planning. However, Highways have advised us they cannot act on this retrospectively. This is causing misery for us. We have had litter thrown into our garden, plants thrown at our house by children whose parents seem not to care what they do while waiting. NOP did post this in the Legal Advice UK subreddit, just for context about the country it's in regarding rules and regulations. And a commenter here said, "My sister used to live in a dead end behind the back entrance of a school some decades ago. It used to really piss her off that parents would sometimes park in her driveway. She came home one day to a car in her drive. She pulled in behind them, they pulled forward a little. This repeated until they were fully in her place and she was parked behind them. She then went inside and refused to come out for at least an hour. That car never made the same mistake again. They were pissed." New neighbors' kids are treating our yard and driveway like a public park. We had a new family move in a couple of weeks ago. Parents with 5 kids under 8 years old. I think ages 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8. That's a lot of energy packed into one house. Our front and back yards are small. The homes are close together. I can see what's on their TV if the blinds are up. Every day, all 5 kids are in our front yard and leaving bikes, Crocs, toys scattered everywhere, and running around like it's a public playground. They've even come right up to our windows. The biggest concern? They run up and down our driveway unsupervised while we're pulling in or out. We have older cars, no backup cameras, and it terrifies me that one day someone is going to get seriously hurt. I've read enough stories that if a kid gets injured in your yard, then the family can sue you. They also have 2 large dogs that roam freely. One somehow made it into our fenced-in backyard. So yesterday I decided to be neighborly and talk to the mom. I introduced myself and kindly said I was concerned about the kids playing in our driveway. We really don't want to accidentally hit someone. Her response? Oh yeah, I need to keep an eye on them better. She was with 2 other men that weren't nice. They kept saying, okay, nice to meet you, repetitively when I was talking. Today I pull into my driveway, open the car door, and there's a 3-year-old just staring at me like I'm the intruder. Bikes, the children's shoes, are in my front yard, just to name a few examples. There are lots of kids in our neighborhood, but none of them behave this way. They're respectful, cautious around cars, and never leave their stuff in other people's yards. These kids, it's like they were raised by wolves. Your dog exists for my child's amusement. I walked my mom's elderly, mostly blind and deaf dachshund to a park and sat down at a table while holding his leash. He had very little energy. He's passed now, and the leash is mainly to show him which direction to walk. The park was mostly empty except 2 moms talking and their 2 toddlers in the playground about 30 feet from me. Suddenly, I hear this high-pitched, long, persistent shriek, and a toddler is running full bore towards my mom's dog with hands out ahead. The dog is already getting agitated, looking around him to see what's making that ungodly noise. He can't see much. I stand up and get in front of the dog with my hands out to block the onslaught, and call out that he's friendly but blind and needs a slow approach. Otherwise, he could get afraid and bite. The toddler looks shocked that I've come between her and her plaything, and goes into full tantrum mode trying to get around me to the dog. I expect the mother to step in and give her kid the obligatory, ask before touching a dog, hold out your hand and move slowly talk, but she doesn't. She sits there scowling at me and then finally gets up and stomps over as if I'm the problem. While she is calming, encouraging her kid's meltdown, I hear her repeat several times in my direction and to her friend, "Why do you bring a dog to the park if you don't expect kids to play with it? What the f***, he's not a tricycle." Anyway guys, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching, I really appreciate it. Consider hitting that like button if you enjoyed today's video and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. So take care, I'll see you next time.